So you have to write an essay of 3,000 words. We often think about the words we use to reach that all-important word limit, but do we think about the sentences? Well-formed sentences have ideas that are clearly organized and linked to each other, resulting in well-structured writing that's easy for the reader to understand. So here are Study Smarter's top 3 tips for writing great sentences. 1. Know what a sentence is. 2. Link your ideas. And 3. Punctuate correctly. Let's start with knowing what a sentence is. If you want to write a great sentence, you need to know what a sentence actually is. There are 3 important characteristics of a sentence. First, a sentence needs to have at least one complete thought. A complete thought is something that makes sense on its own, for example, a statement or suggestion. Second, most sentences have a subject. A subject is a word or group of words that tell us who or what the sentence is about. And finally, all sentences require a verb. A verb is a word or group of words that links to the subject, expresses an action or state, and locates the thought in the past, present, or future. If a sentence is missing any of these, we call it a fragment. This is an error in academic writing. Let's look at a simple sentence example. This is easy to recognize as a complete thought with a subject that tells us who the sentence is about, and a verb that links to the subject, expresses an action, and indicates past time. If we take away the subject like this, or the verb like this, we no longer have a sentence. Instead, we have a fragment. Here's another example of a fragment. This has more words, but still a fragment. Who has finished university? Who applied for a job? We don't know because there's no subject. We can fix this sentence by adding a subject, making the sentence a statement that represents a complete thought. Let's look at another example of a fragment. This time our sentence is missing a verb. We need to add one in to make it a complete sentence. This is another example that seems at first glance to have a subject and an action. But the problem is that the action is not a complete verb. That is, it provides us with no sense of past, present, or future time. We need to change the form of this verb to something like this. Or we could treat the fragment as one long subject, that is the who the sentence is about, so that our sentence looks like this. What we've done is we've added a new verb we're preparing for. This verb links to the subject, gives a sense of time, and completes the statement, turning it into a complete thought, and therefore into a sentence rather than a fragment. Our next top tip is to link our ideas. There are 3 basic types of sentences: simple, compound, and complex sentences. Firstly, simple sentences have one clause, one group of words that has a subject and verb and can stand alone as a sentence. Simple sentences like this don't use any linking words. These sentences are less frequent, however, in academic writing. Secondly, compound sentences join 2 equally important ideas that could stand alone. They are connected by linking words called coordinating conjunctions. Here, so is the coordinating conjunction. Here are a number of other examples of coordinating conjunctions, and when we use them. One easy way to remember these kinds of coordinating conjunctions is to think of them as the fanboys conjunctions, as the first letter of each word spells this. You don't usually need a comma before a coordinating conjunction. Finally, a complex sentence has a main idea called an independent clause, which can stand alone, and a supporting idea expressed in the dependent clause. Linking words that introduce dependent clauses are called subordinating conjunctions. There are several different types of subordinating conjunctions. Those that show reason, contrast ideas, indicate order, or suggest conditions. The following example is an independent clause because it makes sense without any other information. We can add a dependent clause to make it a complex sentence. The dependent clause is introduced with a subordinating conjunction, which is because. However, what we can't do is simply write this, as it's a fragment and not a complete thought. If you use a subordinating conjunction, you must have at least two clauses, an independent and a dependent clause. It's also worth remembering that if you begin your sentence with a subordinating conjunction, you need a comma in the middle between the two clauses. But if you put the subordinating conjunction in the middle, you don't need a comma. The third and final tip is to punctuate correctly. Correct sentence punctuation also helps you write well-formed sentences and helps the reader to follow your ideas. Two common errors with sentence punctuation are run-on sentences and comma splices. If you join two or more independent clauses without putting any punctuation between them, you make a run-on sentence error. Basically, your sentence just keeps on running and running and running. Let's look at this example. This is a run-on sentence. There's no punctuation where there should be. Another common error are comma splices. A comma splice is a similar problem which happens when independent clauses are separated by commas and linking words aren't used. Here's an example. Commas are used between the clauses, but that's not enough. We can fix these two punctuation errors in the same ways. We can use a full stop between the clauses, or we can use a semicolon. A semicolon is like a soft full stop connecting two ideas that are very closely related. We could also join these clauses with a coordinating conjunction, or with a subordinating conjunction. We could even start a new sentence with a transition word like this. Don't forget, however, to use a comma after a transition word if you use it at the beginning of a new sentence. We hope you've enjoyed this short screencast. And remember, you can improve your writing by knowing what a sentence is, joining your ideas, and punctuating correctly.
If you'd like to find out more about our services, including our workshops, drop-in sessions and study survival guides, visit www.studysmarter.uwa.edu.au or find us on Facebook and Twitter.